All right, off we go on Tuesday, the unofficial start to NFL free agency. It is day 2. It is the 10th of March here in 2026. Tonight's show is brought to you by FanDuel and my friends at Preston Automotive Group, my longest standing sponsor here inside the channel. If you could, on the way in, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership this offseason. I'll get to Super Chats as they come in. Guys, let's be clear. From a Ravens activity standpoint, day 2 has been relatively quiet as things stand right now at 6:08 Eastern Standard Time in the evening hours. But it's still very much early. And even though it's been quiet on the directly related to Ravens personnel front, that doesn't mean that around the Ravens, potential player candidates that could have filled voids, that doesn't mean it's been quiet on that front. And so before I get to the Maxx Crosby side of things and some new details that were recently uncovered, let's begin with the breaking news. And that is Elton Jenkins signing in division, but not to Baltimore. Elton, of course, had been a cap casualty and released by Green Bay. He failed the physical, according to Rob Domofsky, who covers the Packers for ESPN, who saw that on the NFL transaction sheet. So there is some physical concerns about Elton, who played in just 9 games last year for the Packers and had a pretty serious injury, which included some ligament damage. He is 30 years old, but quickly finds himself work. 2 years, $24 million, with $20 million guaranteed, and he will be playing for Todd Monken and the Cleveland Browns. Now, some of you, and we spoke about it on the Vault earlier this afternoon, had your sights set on this potentially being a candidate for the Ravens and a potential Linderbaum replacement at center. He's played both center and guard throughout his career, which dates back to 2019. He was a second-round pick out of Mississippi State and a 2-time Pro Bowler as recently as 2022. Prior to that, it was the 2020 season. Here's what I'll say about that. Those 2 seasons, he primarily played guard for Green Bay. So while he has played center before, it hasn't been at a Pro Bowl caliber level. So take Elton Jenkins off the list. Ravens are pretty much down in terms of household names that are available to Luke Fortner and Lloyd Cushenberry in terms of who they could bring in through the veteran free agent market. So that's where things stand as of just moments ago. And Todd Monken's been busy at work since becoming the Browns' next head coach, as Field talks about here. They traded for right tackle Titus Howard. They signed guard Zion Johnson and Elton Jenkins as of moments ago, and they've also re-signed one of their own in Tevin Jenkins. Still, as Field notes, a notable hole still at left tackle, but they do have the 6th overall pick in next month's NFL draft. So clearly rebuilding, retooling up and down that offensive line. We'll see who ends up being Todd Monken's starting quarterback. But I wanted to begin there just because that literally dropped moments ago, and we had spoken about Elton Jenkins being a candidate for the Ravens. He goes to the AFC North, but it'll be for the Browns. As for Ravens activity, again, it's been a quiet day too as things stand right now. The Texans have signed Jake Hummel and will sign him to a 2-year deal, according to Diana Rossini. Jake, of course, was a special teams, primarily a special teams player for the Ravens. They brought him in around a year ago or so from the Rams. He spent just 2025 in Baltimore. He was an undrafted rookie in 2022 out of Iowa State. And I could remember a couple good reps for him at inside linebacker, but for the most part, they asked him to be a special teams type role player. And so all due respect to him, these types of positions are pretty standard in terms of replacing. So best wishes to him. He goes to the Houston Texans. And just around the NFL, before we get into the latest surrounding how Eric DeCosta and company pulled off the Maxx Crosby sweepstakes and blockbuster move from last week, Geno Smith is going full circle. The Raiders are sending him in a 2026 seventh to the Jets in exchange for a 2026 sixth. That's where he started his NFL career, and that's maybe where he ends his NFL career. Geno Smith likely will be QB1 for the New York Jets coming up. And perhaps that'll be a tank job in New York for Arch, or one of the many quarterbacks that's expected to be a very, very touted, entertaining, and talented 2027 draft class at the quarterback position. Elsewhere, I know some of you had inquired about Romeo Doubs. Doubs gets a nice deal, and he's going to New England, effectively becoming the Stephon Diggs, at least on paper, perhaps, replacement. The Patriots are releasing Diggs. He had a really productive season in 2025, and they appeared in a Super Bowl, but now he's dealing with legal trouble and some pretty serious allegations out there with his personal chef. That whole incident stemming from a winter spat leads you to believe that there could be some punishment on the table in the form of a 2026 suspension for Stephon Diggs, who, again, showed a lot, that he still has a lot left to give at this point in his career in the regular season as a Patriot, which he no longer is. He is one of the free agent wide receivers that will hit the open market coming up tomorrow. Jeremy Fowler noting that the Browns explored an Elton Jenkins trade last year. And Fowler is reporting that the Ravens were in on potentially showing interest in Elton Jenkins for that Linderbaum replacement. That's what Jeremy Fowler is tweeting as of moments ago, just to bring us back to our opening slide. Elton is now a Cleveland Brown. But again, according to Jeremy Fowler, Baltimore also was involved here. That's a direct quote. Instead, Elton, a two-time Pro Bowler with both guard and center experience, ends up in the division, but in Cleveland. And that's the latest there, as the Ravens try and figure out life after Tyler Linderbaum, knowing that Vegas pulled out all the stops to ensure he would become a Raider, and that he is a Las Vegas Raider at an average annual value of $27 million over 3 years. As for Doubs, it's 4 years, $70 million, and he is now Drake May's next target. He's a former fourth-round pick, is Doubs, out of 2022. That class, and Nevada, where he played his college football, and he's been with the Packers since he came into the NFL back in 2022. There are some late afternoon moves being made as we speak. Just want to make sure that none of this is relevant to Baltimore. And it doesn't look like that's the case as of right now, aside from this Elton Jenkins conversation. And just so we're being thorough, again, it's been a slow day so far for the most part, but Isaiah Pacheco is no longer in the AFC. He is going to the NFC, downhill, violent runner, joining the Detroit Lions. No longer a Kansas City Chief, and you see what he does after contact. He's a beast and a total weapon. He'll be joining Dan Campbell's Lions coming up in 2026. And that now brings us to what tonight's show is all about, and I appreciate your patience, being that it took me 10 minutes to get here. But I wanted to get you fully caught up to speed in terms of what is happening around the NFL and how it relates to the Ravens organization and their team building process, which is well underway. And of course, it was underway months ago when they extended Travis Jones in the interior part of that defensive line. They also extended John Jenkins on a short-term team-friendly deal. And on the opposite side of the ball, much to some of your dismays, Mark Andrews is under contract as well, having received an extension in season. Less notable, maybe not as headline grabby, Nick Moore as well at the long snapper position, who's been with the organization for a handful of years as they try to keep things intact from a special teams operation standpoint, knowing that Jordan Stout punter and placeholder, is on his way to New York, having signed with the Giants. Now, Rich Eisen comes into play here. I was listening to his show, which dropped within the last 24 hours. And he had a conversation with someone from Chicago. And then he was able to connect the dots on how the Ravens landed Maxx Crosby and how they out-leveraged perhaps what was the stiffest competitor out there in the battle for Maxx Crosby. Listen to this.
Team on the list was New England. Number 2 on the list was Chicago. And word is Chicago did hit the 2 first overall pick demands. But the Ravens, instead of flipping him to another conference where they would only have to see Crosby 1 out of the next 4 years at a minimum, they flipped him in conference to the team that was 5th on that list in the Ravens, because the Ravens' 2 firsts are better than the Bears' 2 firsts, at least in the first year, where we know the Ravens are drafting in the middle of the first round and the Bears are drafting towards the end of the first round. So the Ravens essentially said, sold. Maxx Crosby picks in this year's draft and next year's draft, first overall pick. 1 this year, 1 next year. Sold. And the Ravens get the Condor.
In other news, salute the 2025 underperformance from your team, because that is one of the main reasons, perhaps in the 11th hour, that they emerged as the victor in landing Maxx Crosby. What do I mean by that? The Ravens, of course, handed over the 14th overall pick and their 2027 first-round pick. We don't know what specific number that will be in terms of selection. What we do know is Chicago was in on it and also offered up, 2 first-round picks. This year's, a.k.a. the 25th, because they had a successful season and were plays away from competing for an NFC championship, and a 2027 first-rounder as well. The difference? There's a pretty big difference between the 14th overall selection and the 25th. And it looks like that had a factor. That played a role in getting this done, as the Ravens' draft capital, draft value, draft positioning this year, we won't know about next. And Vegas rolls the dice a bit, knowing that the Ravens could win it all coming up in 26, and then they'll be picking 32, and that obviously won't be as valuable as number 14. But again, you can thank the 2025 underperformance for playing a key role in what allowed the Ravens to out-leverage and beat out the Chicago Bears, according to Rich Eisen's reporting, and ultimately bringing the Condor into their building, which continues to get a ton of national recognition, including from a former Raven in Marcus Spears, an ESPN analyst.
Move that you, out of all of them on Monday, where you're like, or even the weekend, where you're like, that's the one. I would have done that too. What do you got?
Rich.
Yeah.
Maxx Crosby. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would say it, but one, I'm going to go to the other side and talk about how happy I am for Maxx Crosby to actually play with a contender, so now people can see how good he really is in impactful games. And obviously, you expect the Baltimore Ravens to be in the playoffs as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And they needed to bolster their pass rush. They needed that type of mentality on defense to kind of bring that old thing back for the Baltimore Ravens. So Max getting out of the situation with the Raiders, even though I think they're going to start progressing here and being able to go and play for a contender, now he'll be able to put them talents on display on TV a lot, and people will get a great appreciation for how good he really is as a football player, let alone how impactful he is during games.
How do you think that jolts a locker room, Marcus?
I think it changes the dynamic. I mean, once now you have a cornerstone, which I believe Maxx Crosby is, along with the guys that were there, Kyle Hamilton obviously still being there, and then you got your cornerstone in Lamar Jackson. You got a new ushering in of a new crew with the Baltimore Ravens, from a coaching staff, Jesse Minter, Like, it just makes total sense that both of these guys will carry the banner for each side of the football. They two leaders, they two uber competitors. I'm talking about Lamar and Max, and they probably align on a lot of things about how you go about trying to win games. So I just think it's a perfect match for especially for a new crew coming into Baltimore with the expectations of being Super Bowl champions.
Well said there from Swagoo. This changes the makeup. This changes the locker room. This changes the way you prepare for the Ravens now that they have two closers. They've got multiple closers, really. You've got a closer and a future Hall of Famer at running back. You've got a closer and future Hall of Famer at quarterback. And now you got one of those at edge. A premier pass rusher still in his prime. Yes, he is coming off a season where he had a minor setback injury-wise, but he is expected to be a full go. And as I continue to familiarize myself with Max the person, Mad Max in this case, man, it's become pretty abundantly clear to me what makes this guy tick. And he is in no way fearful of talking big and leaning into lofty expectations. He knows who he is. Listen to this from April of 2024.
At the end of the day, you can say you're going to do
discipline
this.
Over motivation.
Yeah, all day. There's no motivation can only get you so far. Discipline's what gets you to where you want to go, and it's going to take you past to where you even think you can go. And that's where I'm at in my career. Like, I'm 26 years old, and I get a lot of pats on the back. Max, you're killing it. Like, I know there's another level, and I know I'm going to be there. It's just a matter of time, and that's what pushes me every single day is just outdoing my own self. I look myself in the mirror. There's nobody I'm worried about. The TJ Watts and Nick Bosa's, respect the hell out of them, but I'm battling myself every day. And if I'm the best version of me, that's all I can control.
Hell of a quote right there from Crosby. And we do have breaking news along the lines of free agent cornerbacks who, as of moments ago, were still available. And that's certainly a market that the Ravens, you would think, have an interest in to some degree, but you can take Reek Woolen off that list of potential candidates. The former Seattle Seahawk, the Super Bowl champion, a Pro Bowler, just signed a one-year deal worth up to $15 million with the shocker Philadelphia Eagles. Reek is a baller, had some issues throughout the postseason, controlling his emotions, which probably got a lot more attention than maybe you would think, given the magnitude of the moment. But Reek's a player. He's a former fifth-round pick back in 2022. He's been with Seattle throughout his entire career. And really, his rookie season was pretty darn dynamic. He led the NFL in interceptions. He was a co-leader that year. Was named to the all-rookie team. He's got a Super Bowl now under his belt. And he's going to Philadelphia. Howie Roseman gets it done. It's a one-year deal worth up to $15 million. You can cross that name off the list. And yes, Seattle is getting rated. The Ravens roster is getting rated. Let's get an update on what no longer is a list that includes Reek Woolen on it in terms of best available from a free agency perspective. As you can see, I was heading there in the coming moments. My plan was to talk about Reek Woolen, and that's why I highlighted him on this graphic, because he was one of many. Was is the key word there. Was one of many available, and he will no longer be that way. He's heading to Philadelphia. So, who else is on the list? And Mike, points out and factually points out that Woolen was the weak link on a historic Seattle defensive approach last year for the Seahawks. And I get that. But I think we all agree that the Ravens are in really desperate need in some ways of veteran cornerback play, and knowing that Chido Awuzie is going to hit the open market and was probably one of the most valuable pieces on their defense last year, not named Kyle Hamilton, I think Reek would have made them better. I think he would have brought a level of tenacity and toughness. but cross him off the list. Trey Hendrickson, of course, is on this list. Rasheed Walker. And I won't name every single one of these. There are at least one quarterback on this list as well. We'll see where Kyler Murray ends up. If I'm him, I'm probably going to Minnesota. Unless they're sold on J.J. McCarthy. David Njoku. He remains out there. Ravens have a familiarity with him during his tenure as a Brown. Bradley Chubb. Not sure they're going to be playing around in the edge department knowing that Maxx was brought in. Doesn't mean that they won't add through the latter half of free agency, and they definitely will through the draft, you would think. But I think there's more pressing issues right now. I've already mentioned one of them. Veteran corner, safety number 3. And oh, by the way, what trumps both of those is Tyler Linderbaum's replacement, which is no easy task. So some breaking news here, just when you thought it was kind of a quiet start to day 2. It's getting active here late night. And Riq Woolen, the latest, who's now off the board, going to the Philadelphia Eagles on a deal that's 1 year, up to $15 million. And I will get to some of those safeties and talk a little bit about the cornerback position as well and where the Ravens go from here. But as I kind of dart back and forth, let's get a super chat in here. We'll open up the guest lines as well. Clinton says, good thing the Ravens don't listen to fans. They get upset if we don't sign every player. And even when they do, they complain about it after. Clinton from the top rope. If it doesn't happen every year, it's every other year, Clint. When they get poached, when teams come calling for their roster, that's ultimately a sign of good, sound scouting, development, and life when you live in a salary cap era. It's a good problem to have. Obviously, they have their work cut out for them. They just lost 2 talented tight ends in Kohler and Likely. They lost their centerpiece in Linderbaum to a deal that they just simply weren't going to match or exceed, being that it just shattered the center market. You lose your punter in Jordan Stout after a wonderful contract year. He's also the placeholder for the field goal operation and PAT operation. You've done it before. You'll have to do it again day 3, I would think, in the draft. You lose Jake Hummel from a special team standpoint. He's replaceable. A lot of these players are replaceable. That doesn't demean what they accomplished in Baltimore. It doesn't create a lack of urgency. There's a sense of urgency here. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, there's a ton of time left. And they just acquired Maxx Crosby on Friday night, who indirectly, immeasurably, will find a way to make a lot of this better. By the way, earlier today, our Darius Washington's tweet went out from the Giants that they've agreed to terms. So the former undrafted rookie out of TCU will become the latest Raven to follow John Harbaugh to New York. Same thing with Isaiah Likely. Same thing with Jordan Stout. There have been several staff members as well. And you'd think that that'll continue to be the case moving forward. 90 seconds on the clock. Let's open up these lines. So far through the first 25 minutes of the program, Elton Jenkins, who was seen as a potential candidate and reportedly was a candidate that the Ravens had interest in, according to Jeremy Fowler, is no longer available after being released, and a failed physical was the reason for that release, by the way, and the cap implications as well in Green Bay by the Packers. He's been signed to Cleveland. So he's going to work for the Browns. He is off the board. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. Those 2 seasons were at guard. He's also played center. Riq Woolen, free agent corner, Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl champ. Ravens have a need in the veteran cornerback market. He's going to Philadelphia. And Jake Hummel, in terms of Ravens free agency activity today, is going to Houston. He's their special teamer, and we saw a little bit of him at inside linebacker. So that's where things stand right now. Your thoughts, and vote in the poll if you could. I asked you tonight, as we approach 300 votes, would you welcome a Cheeto Awuzie return at corner in free agency? And 88% of you overwhelmingly say yes. 12% of you say no. "90 seconds on the clock. Mr. Ravens football up north. I hear it's 70 degrees. Is it 70 degrees? Please confirm or deny that. It's a scorcher, as one might expect, here in St. Pete in mid-March. But what is going on in the great Northeast that I just flew back from yesterday morning? Good to see you, brother.
Hey, what's up, my friend? Nice talking to you again.
Always.
Let's just put it this way. It's been, we had 2 weeks ago, we had 36 inches of snow. And today, that's my neighbor's yard. It doesn't even look like it snowed.
Unbelievable.
So, welcome to New England.
Is there anything better? It's a little bit of a tease, as we know, but is there anything better than just a brief little reprieve?
Oh, no, I love it. I love this. This nice warm weather with some snow. It's kind of just funky sometimes, but hey, I've been up here for 42 years. I love it. So, but yeah, Maxx Crosby, he's like the Lamar Jackson on the other side of the ball. He's gonna hide a lot of things for us because he's gonna make everyone in the backfield better and everyone next to him better. Because he's gonna get to that quarterback quick, and then our safeties and you're gonna see probably a lot of interceptions this year. And honestly, I wouldn't put it past him to get that sack record this year. I really don't. I'm telling you now, right now, I think he can do it.
The team sack record?
No. Individual.
Oh, sweet Jesus. The one that Myles Garrett just reset. The single season for the Ravens is held by Elvis Dumervil. Myles Garrett just broke, which had stood for
23,
many years
22
by Strahan. Well, what was the number? 22, 23,
something
somewhere around there?
But I mean, this with Minster, I mean, no one really knows what is going to happen. We're going to surprise the NFL, I think. I think we're going to come out with a bang, and he might get a lot of sacks this year. They're not for nothing, but I think the other guy on the other side there, Mike Green, he's going to look good too. I see he's going to make everyone else look better. I love this. I love it.
You came in here with a whole lot to get off your chest. I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
I appreciate you too, my friend.
Appreciate the call, dude. Hey, I mean, talk about lofty. That's a lofty prediction right there. If that were to come to fruition, perhaps in part it would be due to the way that Max takes care of himself. And in that same podcast episode from April of 2024 with Gary Brecka that I listened to this morning, I clipped Max talking about health, wellness, nutrition, and everything in between. Here he is.
Professional, it's on you. At the end of the day, you're responsible for your body, and your body is your number one. It's your meal ticket. Yeah, it's your temple. It's your whole business. So you think you feel good when you're young and you just eat pizza and do whatever, but that's your version of good. I didn't understand how good I can feel until I started doing all this shit on a daily basis.
Amen.
And super consistent with it. And I'm like, holy fuck, I can run for days. And people see it. Like, I play more snaps than anybody in the league at my position by far.
Yeah.
And I've had,
more tackles for a loss than anyone in the league.
TFL, tag, all that stuff. Yeah. But that I'm able to do that because of my everyday regimen. And it starts with nutrition. It's my guy Rick Slade in the weight room. The guy, he had 25 years in MLB. He's going on his 7th year in the NFL. This dude, he's a huge fan of you as well. He'll be fired up.
Get him on the podcast.
Yeah, we got to get him. But he's incredible, and he's another guy that's in that building. A lot of people are like kind of duck him when they walk into the weight room because he's going to make you do 3 extra warm-up sets so you get ready for the actual sets. And he's so detail-oriented. And if we're doing eccentrics, like 3-second lowers, things like that, it's like 7 seconds. But he pushes you past the uncomfortable point. And having guys like that and Ricky and the whole staff, it's like you have those resources, but it's up to the player to really go and utilize them. So for me, like, they have a meal room, but I I pay for my meals, so I get the extra meal prep and I could stay dialed in. And I was doing that before I got paid.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not cheap.
It's not
but
cheap,
it's
but it's also
investment.
not that expensive.
Yeah,
like
it's not that bad.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's an investment. It's like any other investment. All right, where am I going to put my money? I'm a professional football player. Like you said, my body is a temple. If I'm paying $2,500 a month for meals for my career, you'd be crazy to be like, I don't know, that's too much, or I don't know if it's worth it.
Yeah.
Your body is everything. If you can't run, you
Everything.
can't go, then what's the point? And that's what, before I even got paid like that, I was like, I don't care what it costs. Like, I'm trying to get right and get on point. I know it'll pay off in the long run, and it absolutely has, and it's only gotten bigger and better. So,
couple things here. One, I don't know if he's just floating that number out there, but how many of us pay rent within that realm of like $2,000 to $2,500? He floated the number $2,500 on food, on meals per month. That's right around the ballpark of what I pay to rent in a really nice, I think, a nice neighborhood within close proximity of everything here in a vibrant area like St. Pete. So just speaking to the investment that these guys put in their body. I mean, I remember LeBron went viral years ago, and did this end up being factual? But didn't he say that he puts and invests $1 million into his body, into his wellness regimen on an annual basis? Did that end up being, was that just a myth? But anyway, look, it feels like the Ravens just got a level of discipline on the defensive side of the ball, which is worth comparing to what they have on the offensive side of the ball, knowing that Derrick Henry is extremely disciplined and regimented with the way that he takes care of himself, right? So that was the first part I kind of tuned into earlier when I was listening to the show. That was from, a sit down in April of 2024. The other thing is, unless it's on the vault, I'm sorry if you have kids within an earshot. Max clearly lets it rip in terms of his vocabulary. And as long as he's a Raven, it's going to require a lot of editing on the back end to get ready for programming. And assuming that we're going to be sharing a lot of his interviews and media availabilities over the years, and assuming he won't clean it up verbiage-wise, I'm planning on just letting it fly like he did. So, yeah, sorry about that. Max is Max. And that was really interesting. And I really enjoyed that. And I encourage you guys to go check that out. He opened up about his addiction. He just celebrated 6 years of sobriety. He talked about his wife, Rachel, and his daughter. Max is kind of a media mogul. He's an investor. He has a successful podcast called The Rush. And obviously, as you heard there, whether it's him talking about the way in which he views himself, so from a self-confidence standpoint, but also the way that he's studied the game, studied the history of the game, studied the business of the game. I find him to be absolutely fascinating. I'm looking forward to learning more and more. And we'll learn about that the voodoo rod in just a second, which is part of his arsenal, a very successful arsenal at that, speaking to pass rush technique. Dreams gets us back kicked off in the super chats. We'll get to the guest lines in just a moment. If you're holding, appreciate you for your patience. Quion says EDC's cheap. Will always keep us fans waiting. Tony Williams says Aquanco is available. Yes, I had that in the list of Chig. That's right. I had him available in that list that I put together on a previous slide. Not real sure on his blocking, but he's a very good receiving tight end. Also, will we re-sign Kyle Van Noy? If they do, it's going to be down the line. And as far as blocking tight ends are concerned, the Ravens are in the business to replace. They're in the market for a blocking tight end, being that Charlie Kohler just got a nice deal to become a Los Angeles Charger. So Aquanco is one of a few that are out there, including David Njoku. Obviously, Njoku does a lot more than just block, as a lot of you have seen firsthand with the Ravens playing the Browns twice a year in division. The Great 174 says EDC's inability to protect 8 is mind-boggling. Another cheap piece by piece for the offensive line. The defense has 3 $100 million players. Shaking my head. Day 1 and 2, free agency is a loss. And look, I'm just going to, looks like Rocky Yassin, former Ravens cornerback. He is re-signing with Detroit. It's a 1-year, $4 million deal according to Rap Sheet. So Rocky Yassin, who spent a year with the Ravens just a couple of years ago, signs a 1-year, $4 million deal with Detroit. So there's another veteran corner that is unavailable. Awuzie is still out there. He played really well for them last year and probably was their best, most reliable press corner. I wonder if they have potential plans to reunite with him at some point in this process. I'm going to push back against you, the Great Ones, because the team building process is far from over. They've never been the ones to desperately attack free agency. There's been some aberrations and outliers over the years, like the Marcus Williams contract, even the Odell Beckham Jr. contract with the usage of void years. A lot of that perhaps had Lamar Jackson influence written all over that. But this process for them started months ago for reasons that I've already suggested multiple times. Knowing that Travis Jones got nowhere close to free agency is a win. Knowing that while more upside is Isaiah Likely when it's compared to Mark Andrews, I think a lot of you are unfairly writing Mark off as if he's some washed up player. Mark still has a lot left to give, in my estimation, and give will he ever. That doesn't mean that they don't have a lot more work to do at that position. They've had a lot of success drafting tight ends historically, and why would this year be any different? They're going to have to. And maybe that happens through free agency as well. Right now, Mark is the lone tight end in their room. We'll see what kind of value they place within this new regime on the fullback position. Pat Ricard's been in the building with the organization since 2017. He was banged up for a chunk of the first half of this past season. They'll have a decision to make on him. But I don't think this is a fair assessment thus far from the Great 174, although I do appreciate your super chat. I want to say thanks to FanDuel for the continued support of the program. And right now at sportsbook.fanduel.com, as you can see here, they're getting ready for NBA coverage. And tonight in San Antonio, it's the Celtics and Spurs. And they've got some same-game parlay bets for you to consider, including Jason Tatum going 20 or more points. What about Wemby to score 25 or more points? Jaylen Brown on the Boston side of things recording 6 or more assists. And Stephon Castle recording 8 or more assists. Go check it out. Many bettors have leading into tip-off tonight in Texas. One of many NBA games in action as well, including the Wizards. For those of you Trae Young fans, at Miami. That's coming up tonight as well. And the NBA is one of just many leagues that you can go check out. If you're gambling, please do so responsibly. And if you need help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Thanks to FanDuel for the continued support of the program. And again, that is sportsbook.fanduel.com if you want to go have a little bit of fun. 90 seconds on the clock. Appreciate you guys for being with me. Let's reopen the guest lines. 97G, you with me? You're on deck, and Rave Kingdom coming up next. If 97G doesn't show his face, I'm going to move on to Rave here in just a second. I don't think he's by his phone. So 90 seconds on the clock for a man who is currently pacing as if he's in his war room. I don't know if that speaks to potential anxiety that he's feeling right now, or maybe he's just not pleased with the inaction over the last 48 hours or so. But he's going to tell us, and the guest lines are open. It's a pinned comment in my live chat right now. Give me a call. Rave, the floor is yours. What's up, brother?
John Harbaugh! John Harbaugh!
You see, I know y'all may get tired of me because sometimes I be going off the hinges. But sometimes I call sabotage. You see, I find it amazing that John Harbaugh, right? He didn't get Zach Orr, right? Don't y'all find it amazing he hasn't signed Daniel Falele yet, right? But he has the audacity. He has the audacity, right? To make sure Mark Andrews was paid. But guess what? Snagged Isaiah, snagged Ardarius, snagged Stout. I wouldn't be surprised if he's looking at Keaton Mitchell. Let me tell y'all something. I'm telling you. Woo! See, this is so funny, man. We have to deal with this. Old Ravens fans, we're tripping. Ravens fans we wilding, man. It's called sabotage, man. See, I find it amazing that he finds the people that we loved. I like it that he's looking at the people we like. I like that he's so interested in the people that we said, put them on the field, John. Put them on the field, John. But guess what? You started the bums. You put the bums on the field. Oh, yeah, man. All right, I'm tripping, though. Rave's tripping. All right, cool.
Later, Rave. Appreciate the call. Guest lines are open if you'd like to share a thought. I just don't even know what to say anymore. Teddy Bridgewater, I got to sneeze. Excuse me. I decided to mute you for that one. I don't even know how to. I'm going to have to learn a different language or maybe say it in Spanish and hope that some of you out there will interpret it differently than apparently it's being interpreted in English by some. Isaiah likely didn't want to sign the contract extension. He wanted to go bet on himself, and he did. And he took a gamble, and it didn't pay off. And because of that, it ended up becoming essentially a lateral move, monetarily speaking, to go to the Giants. There was smoke out there about the Commanders, as Leo Chenal news, linebacker, is signing with the Commanders, 3 years, $24.75 million. Chiefs linebacker Leo Chenal is going to Washington. He won 2 Super Bowls with Kansas City, and he is joining the Commanders, leaving the AFC. Teddy Bridgewater appears to be the new primary backup to Jared Goff in Detroit, just so we're catching up and staying up to date. I don't understand why this is either being ignored or not accepted by some of you out there. I don't quite understand that. I don't. So should I don't know. What do you think? Should I prepare it for tomorrow in Spanish and maybe then it'll be received? I could do that. Solo Dolo, you think I should respond to Lorenzo or just swallow my pride and bite my tongue? I've been known to not do either one of those things. We'll see how I feel about it. I just don't understand this narrative that seems to be growing by the day within a certain percentage of the fan base for a player who had, let's be honest, a subpar, disappointing contract year. I don't know. What I do know is that we have more guests in the waiting room. Now let's open up the lines, reopen them, and then I still need to share several things as it relates to Maxx Crosby, including his voodoo rod. That's his signature pass rush move that he told John Gruden about in New Orleans over a year ago. And I just decided I will be revisiting Lorenzo's comments, but I'm not going to stop the program and derail it. It's too important of a day on day 2 of free agency. So Lorenzo, if you're out there, I'll bite my tongue for the moment and address your comment coming up in a few short minutes. But I'm going to keep up with my rundown and how I planned all of this. I'm not going to stop the show for you, Lorenzo. I'm glad you're here, though. 97G, you ready to roll? 90 seconds on the clock. Floor is yours, brother. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to go. If that's not the case, I'm going to move on to the next guest in the waiting room, and I am not getting the thumbs up from you, so off we go. EB, you ready to roll? 90 seconds on the clock for and EB just left the room. Nobody in the waiting room appears to be. There's 3 people in the waiting room, and every single one of them maybe is just purposely ignoring me so that I can go to Lorenzo now instead of like 20 minutes from now. But I'm not going to give Lorenzo that kind of attention. Not yet. Here's Maxx Crosby with John Gruden at Radio Row in New Orleans 2 Super Bowls ago. I think you're going to appreciate this.
Signature rush now. I mean, you can only have one signature rush.
Yeah.
And once you get that signature rush, you come up with the complimentary rush.
Yep.
But what is the Crosby signature rush? If I'm a tackle, I got to deal with first.
It started, I'll say there's multiple names to it. My coach, Chuck Bulla, he was my D-line coach at Eastern Michigan. You probably know the Bulla brothers. They go, that history there, there's some different cats. You know what I mean? So he called it the voodoo rod. So the voodoo rod is a fake rod to a swipe. Now people call it the stab swipe, double sweep. There's a million names for the same move. For me, it's the double sweep. Like I call it the double sweep, voodoo rod, whatever you want to call it. That's my move.
The voodoo
I'll say
rod.
the voodoo rod. You give them the fake stab to power. You set up the power.
Give me this.
Here we
Just stand up real quick and give me
my
the.
O-lineman?
Yeah. I'm gonna hold these microphones in case.
Yeah, I'll get out your way.
Oh, here, you hold these microphones. I got these microphones.
You can put them down or whatever. Yeah, that's fine.
The voodoo rod.
Voodoo rod. So
Balls inside.
Yeah, balls inside. So we talk about game planning, just like a coach. They talk about, okay, we're going to set this up. We're going to start with this early to set up the deep ball. Let's start with the run game, open up the play action. As a rusher, I look at the voodoo rod as I'm going to start with power. I'm going to try to break his face mask at the beginning of the game and really make him respect my power. So it would either be a long arm, inside pack, hands, your hands above your eyes. We're going to start with that, or I'm going to go speed to literally just put my head in his chin just to set the tone. So I can start it off that way. So as the game goes on, you're setting up power. Then you got to spin, throw that in there, just a little sprinkle. So now he's kind of like, okay, I think he's going to go with power. And if he's got me there, they have to stop their feet and respect it. So if I run through his face one time, he's going to be a little bit heavier on his feet, and he's going to hesitate. So this is what sets up the voodoo rod. End of the game, money time, fourth quarter. You've seen it this year in Kansas City. It's 3rd and 4, red zone. What am I going to hit him with? Get off the ball, make it look exactly the same.
Oh shit, here
I'm
comes the
stabbing,
power.
here comes the power, and then I get to his edge. I'm working half a man, so you'd have to kind of work this way. I'm stabbing. The second he stops, he's going to hesitate to hitch. He's going to shoot his hands lean, and I'm swiping, and I'm going. You almost took my chain. But that's what happens. Second heat, I feel it. It's an anticipation. I'm not waiting till he touches me. Stab, swipe, sack.
Voodoo rod.
Voodoo rod. Ball game. Shout out to Chuck Bulla.
Write
That's
that
what
down.
we call it.
Voodoo rod, Maxx Crosby.
Voodoo rod.
I'm gonna make T-shirts and make millions.
You're damn right. I love it. The voodoo rod, an Eastern Michigan special, and Maxx Crosby's signature pass rush technique. Part of what he said there that certainly sticks out, like the best of sore thumbs. Quote, I'm going to start with power. I'm going to try to break his face mask at the beginning of the game and really make him respect my power. Respect that he has been universally for years running now. One of the game's greats. And since coming into the league in the 4th round out of Eastern Michigan in 2019, we've gone through these statistics, but why not repeat them? Because they're that kind of caliber. They're that kind of significant. First in tackles for loss, first in solo tackles. This is league-wide among all defensive linemen going back to 2019. Second in pressures, second in hits, third in total tackles, fourth in batted passes, fifth in sacks. He's got an unrelenting motor. Somebody that, again, is being talked about everywhere. As Marcus Spears said, Swagoo said, look, the Ravens have won free agency in terms of dating back to Friday night, being that they're on the sweepstakes side of Crosby and just went ahead and got a total high-impact player still in his prime. Jason McCourty weighed in on the Jim Rome show.
Man, let's go back to Friday night. I think Maxx Crosby has been the biggest move that kind of no one saw coming. Everyone were talking about the Dallas Cowboys for the Baltimore Ravens to step up and offer 2 first-round draft picks for a guy like Maxx Crosby. Baltimore had never given up a first-round draft pick for any veteran via trade, and they give up 2 for Maxx Crosby. So it just goes to show where they are as an organization and feel like they had to do something to try to get over the hump. Time will tell if he'll be the piece, but a fantastic pickup. I said it earlier when I was on Get Up. Maxx Crosby is a definition of the saying, play like a Raven. He'll be excellent in that locker room.
Jason McCourty joining us. I'm so glad you started right there. You're right. It's so out of character, right? That's not what they do. It's so out of character. Not only did they give up a draft pick, but they gave up 2 number ones. Did they overpay? And I love Max, but what are you getting in Max at age 29 with like 8 operations? Are you concerned about that at all?
Situation matters, and when you say, did they overpay? I think you're looking at a Baltimore Ravens team that Lamar Jackson's been there since 2018. He's a 2-time MVP, potentially probably should have been a 3rd-time MVP. He had the stats to do so the year Josh Allen, him and them two were neck and neck, and you've yet to reach a Super Bowl. So I think as they're looking at it, how many more years are we going to get the absolute best of Lamar Jackson where he's playing at the very top of the league? We have to maximize the moment right now. So a guy like Maxx Crosby, yes, he's been injured, and I will remind people, Maxx Crosby didn't finish the season. They shut him down at the end of the year last year to try to get, I think, the best draft pick they possibly could have. The 2 games prior to him being shut down on his knee, he played 100% of the defensive snaps. So it's not as if like this is a guy, he always plays. So I think they're still getting a very high level defender. He had a career high in tackle for loss this past season. So they're still getting somebody that is the elite pass rusher and is also dominant against the run. So I'm not going to say overpriced because he's a guy that can make everybody on that defensive side of the ball that much better. There are going to be guys on the Baltimore Ravens defense that get paid and make Pro Bowlers because of the addition of Maxx Crosby.
And Mad Max was pissed that the organization made that decision to shut him down, and he made sure to vocalize his feelings and sentiments around that decision, which certainly, I'm sure, soured the relationship. Now he's a Raven, and whether or not they overpaid, I'd say by definition they probably overpaid. But at the end of the day, if you reach the mountaintop and you feel like this was one of the missing components, one of the missing pieces, nobody's going to be ever talking about the overpay, the fundamental overpay with 2 first-round picks. Period. That will not be talked about. Much like it's not really talked about at all based on what the Rams did to go and get Stafford several years ago and immediately turned that into a Super Bowl championship. And now he just won MVP. He's literally the reigning MVP. He's going to come back for yet another season, and they'll be one of the favorites for all things 2026 and beyond. Guest lines are open, 90 seconds on the clock. Johnny, the floor is yours, brother. Good to see you, man. What you got on your mind tonight?
What's up, Bobby? Nah, man, I just was calling in. I was watching. I wasn't gonna call in until you said something about likely. I don't think that we're mad at that we didn't. I'm saying basically, just look at it as buying a car. You brought one car, right? You test drive one car, it breaks down, it leaves you on the highway, whatever the case may be. Then you got your eyes on another car. The price is a little too high for you. So you won't go back and fix the old car that just broke down and pay that car off. My problem with that is, why didn't they wait for Isaiah Likely, right? Why didn't they say, okay, this price too high, let's see what you market get, like they did with Lamar, and just match the price.
They tried multiple times, man. I mean, they tried multiple times, and Isaiah wasn't willing to play ball. And ultimately, you got to get down to some tight end, knowing that every single one of them, including Ricard, was in the middle of a contract year.
Yeah, so like I said, it's like the off season wasn't here. Like I don't think you should pay the older tight end just because the younger tight end is not ready to sign. I think, you should wait and see what the price was and match it or then sign the older tight end. That's all.
That's risky business, though, brother. Appreciate you, Johnny. That is risky
All
business.
right.
And when your entire room, including the fullback, are all in the middle of contract years, that does become risky business to wait it out. And instead, after Isaiah Likely made it clear that whatever was laid out in front of him wasn't something that was going to be a two-way street for both parties, he bounced. And he gets a deal that you'd like to think is pretty darn similar to not only Mark Andrews, which is very similar by hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally, by a couple $100,000. I can't remember what the specific number is, but it's essentially mirroring Mark Andrews' extension, which could be fairly categorized as a lateral move by Likely. 3 years, $40 million. He goes to New York. The upside could take it to 47.5. Rejoins John Harbaugh and his new operation in the Meadowlands for the Giants. Tweeted out yesterday, "Flock, it will forever be love." As for Charlie Kohler, he is now the NFL's highest paid blocking tight end, but that is far from the only thing he does for an offense. He was a pass-catching, dynamic tight end at Iowa State, and perhaps now joining the Chargers, he'll have a chance to flash some of that skill set more than he was able to do sample size-wise in Baltimore since being drafted in 2022. It's a 3-year, $24.3 million deal, and that includes $17 million guaranteed. Thomas says, I don't get why Bobby and Sarah don't get that they offered Likely the same money as Andrews is the problem. Why is that the problem? Do you think that Likely is deserving of more? Because the market didn't, Thomas. So what they offered to him was fair, more than fair. And you want to know what was also fair? Likely declining it, not playing ball, and going to suit up for the 25 season with a chip on his shoulder. And then unfortunately for him, he went down with that foot injury that required a procedure at the end of training camp. Missed the first month. We all know what happened after that, and it was a lost contract year for him. It's a bummer. But it doesn't mean the Ravens didn't do right by him or presented something that was unfair. Guest lines are open. 97G, you with me? Third time's a charm? Or are you just bopping around? I see you walking back over. Third time's a charm. At least that's what I'm hoping. And give me a thumbs up if you're ready to roll, my man. 90 seconds on the clock. Floor is yours, dude. Round 3.
Always. What's going on? What's going on, man? Big fan. Finally got on here.
I appreciate you calling in. What you got on your mind tonight?
I was just thinking about what he said, with the Likely thing. I remember, I forgot, who did he do an interview with where he said, we pretty much, Ravens haven't even hit him up. We just haven't contacted him at all or nothing. You remember that interview?
Yeah, he's done 2 within the last couple days, within the last few weeks. He did Gruden in San Francisco, and then Kay Adams is the one that you're referring to.
Okay, yeah, Kay Adams.
Yeah.
So I know he declined whatever offer we offered him in the beginning of the year or before the season. But after everything that happened, you think maybe if we would have offered him that contract again, maybe he would have accepted? He said he was open to returning and everything, so maybe things could have changed for him, or he just really wanted to be number one, or what could have stopped him?
I think it's pretty simple, honestly, and a lot of people out there are trying to make this into this just discussion that I think is like way too into the weeds, and it might be overly complicating this picture. Mark Andrews is a future Ring of Honor member for the Ravens. He still has a lot of good football left, and he has not played his best in the month of January. Aside from that, he's built himself back up from a serious ankle injury, of course, from that hip drop tackle several years ago. He is a future Ring of Honor member. Does he have the upside that Isaiah Likely could potentially be in this league? Probably not. They're different players. But Isaiah was good as gone, for my estimation, for 6+ months running now. And I just think that some are in denial about that. I do. And not telling anybody how to feel. He's a heck of a player. It was a very small sample size of just dynamic, game-wrecking type of go and get it, Hooper type of mindset out there. But some are acting like they just lost Tony Gonzalez. They just lost George Kittle. They just lost Travis Kelce. They just lost Rob Gronkowski. With all due respect, they didn't.
He wasn't there. Yeah, he wasn't.
They didn't.
There, yeah.
And that doesn't mean that Likely won't have his chance to go become that player, become his own version of what he wants to be in this league. But it's not going to happen in Baltimore, and the sky is not falling. It seems as if in some circles within this fan base, the sky is falling, and I don't know why. Thanks for the call, brother.
Have a
Later,
good
man. 97G, third time's a charm. Super chats come in. The Great 174 says, you pushed back on the previous comment, but Bobby, tell me what swing has been made for 8 on the offense. Well, first of all, thanks for the super chat and responding to pushback. I think that's healthy and good for debate. Swings that have been taken for Lamar. Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry comes to mind right out of the gate. Eric DeCosta has taken 3 first-round swings at wide receiver in the draft. It began with Marquise Hollywood Brown in 2019, Rashad Bateman in 2021, and Zay Flowers in 2023. Did all work out? No, but he took 3 swings in the first round at pass catcher. He gave him Odell Beckham Jr. on a contract that was well above what OBJ wanted, what he was worth, but he went and brought Odell Beckham Jr. to Baltimore. He brought in a veteran in DeAndre Hopkins. Would Lamar have wanted him earlier on in his tenure? Of course, but he brought DeAndre to Baltimore, and in a very small sample size, low volume, he was reliable last year, even on the other side of 30, which he is. And let's be very clear. Friday night was the biggest swing to date for Lamar Jackson. I'll repeat that because it sounds like, for whatever reason, we're just going to have selective memory, I guess. Friday night was the biggest swing of the Lamar Jackson era. This front office was willing to part ways with 2 first-round picks for a premier pass rusher and a future Hall of Famer who's in his prime and gives this organization somebody that they have not had, demeanor-wise, skill set-wise, swagger-wise, resume-wise, since Terrell Suggs walked out of the building almost a decade ago. So I'll repeat it again, and maybe I'll have it prepared in Spanish for tomorrow, and along with a Likely monologue as well, just to see if that hits different. The biggest swing in the Lamar Jackson era happened on Friday night. Yeah, it's not on his side of the ball, but it will enhance his life as a football player in Baltimore. And according to his Instagram story, he is in Baltimore. Sure looks like that is a bird's eye view from the top of the Four Seasons in downtown Inner Harbor, where Trey puts him back when he visits. If they only had a cigar bar like they do in downtown Indy in the Inner Harbor, let me tell you. So somebody call in and tell me why I'm wrong. Why am I wrong that the swing that Eric DeCosta took, a complete outlier and something that is uncharacteristically un-Raven-like. It is completely uncharacteristic, the decision that they made on Friday night. Call me and tell me why them trading for Maxx Crosby isn't a big swing for the future and the imminent future of Lamar Jackson and what his ultimate goal is. Lorenzo, you ain't going to play that game with me. Nobody's pissed. I bet your ass won't call in, Lorenzo, and tell me why I'm wrong. Because you got your tail in between you know what. You just rather mix it up in the live chat on day 2 of free agency instead. So we'll go to EB and Trey right now, but I'm just going to put a PSA out there for Lorenzo and show a little bit of emotional intelligence while doing so. But I'm not going to address the comment from earlier on. I'm going to instead look you in the eye, so to speak, and ask you to call in. And we'll take that 90 seconds off the clock. We won't use a 90-second parameter. Why don't you call in tonight, Lil Lorenzo? Luke Fortner. You can take Luke Fortner off the board. He is a veteran center. And in terms of starting caliber players that could potentially have been a replacement for Linderbaum, even though there would have been a drop-off, take him off the page. Fortner is going to Carolina on a 1-year deal worth up to 4.75. 4.75 for Luke Fortner off the board. So, over the last hour or so, if you've been paying attention, Elton Jenkins, who was a cap casualty, failed his physical, only played in 9 games last year for the Packers, was released. Cleveland's bringing him in. He's played guard and center. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. You can take him off the board. You can also take Luke Fortner off the board. He's going to Carolina. That really leaves Lloyd Cushenberry. I'm sure there's other names, but Lloyd Cushenberry, in terms of starting caliber, which would be a drop-off from Linderbaum, if you're not going to go through the draft and you don't have this grand plan for Corey Bullock, the undrafted rookie backup to Linderbaum, you're kind of SOL. You're a little SOL. That's where things stand on that front right now. 90 seconds on the clock. EB, the floor is yours, and we got 45 minutes out. We are 45 minutes out to the collective. Jeff, Cole, and I rejoin you tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern. Looking forward to that program, especially because Jeff has been all over these moves, including the would-be offer that was on the table from the Ravens to Linderbaum to the tune of 22 annually over 4 years. That would have been a resetting market offer, like Eric said at the Combine. But the Raiders said, hold my goddamn beer. I find it really ironic. There's no live chat sighting anymore, much less a waiting room sighting from Mr. Lil Lorenzo. I find that deeply ironic, deeply troubling as well. EB, 90 seconds on the clock. Come on in, brother. What's going on?
All right, but I need to get through this real quick. By the way, I definitely will be tuning into the collective. The first thing I want to say is, Lorenzo, you are talking a lot of shit. If you ain't gonna hop in this chat, man, please shut the fuck up. Let's move on. I want to piggyback on what Ray was saying as far as with John Horrible and his sabotaging. You feel me? I just find it real ironic. But I ain't gonna go too deep into that. I'm just glad he's gone.
Yeah, why are you muffled? Why are you muffled? Why's your audio muffled?
My audio's muffled?
You got your hand on the bottom of the camera or anything? Or why are you so muffled?
I have no idea. Can you hear me? Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, keep going.
All right. The content that you were just putting up for the interviews with Maxx Crosby and that move that he likes to do. I wonder if he's going to teach that to the pass rush room. And as far as what he was saying with his dietary and things of that nature, I wonder if him and Derek will get together as far as, you know, how much they put into their body, their health, and it's just real interesting to me. And I really can't wait. As far as everybody who's tripping right now, I have no idea why. Like, we don't know this is how the fucking Ravens operate. I mean, I'm not gonna allow myself, and it's every year it be like, God damn, why didn't we like? All right, okay, nothing is complete. The team is not finished. So, like I said before, I'm gonna hold back all my bitching and complaining until everything is done, and let's see if EDC comes in the clutch.
Go scroll through the live chat. It's cracking me up about your audio. I'll catch up with you soon, EB. Safe travels out there, man. I appreciate you. The hell is wrong with that man's audio? Ardarius Washington's going to the Giants, former undrafted rookie out of TCU. Gosh, I mean, does he not epitomize toughness, resilience, tough nose mentality, 5'8", $180, soaking wet, and yet the guy plays like he's 6'8", 280. The hit stick on Joe Mixon on Christmas Day a couple of years ago against the Texans, the Russell Wilson forced fumble, just plays that stick out to you when you think about Ardarius Washington. Wasn't sure if there was going to be a market for him. He goes to New York on a 1-year deal, and Alohi Gilman goes to Kansas City on a nice deal based on what he gave the Ravens. I know he struggled in space, and some of that tackling for him's got to get cleaned up, but he goes to Kansas City for 3 years, $24.75 million, including $15 million guaranteed. He brought a sense of calm to the Ravens secondary last year. They desperately needed it after the deadline. And so now the Ravens are in the safety market, and here are a few that are potentially available out there. Again, when you talk about cornerbacks, you can take Reek Woolen off that list. Reek Woolen is going to Philadelphia after spending his entire career to date with the team that drafted him, which was Seattle. He just won a Super Bowl there with Mike McDonald and company, and so he's off the board. Cheeto Awuzie is available. Perhaps the Ravens go back to that well, who I thought they got a lot from in 25. As far as safeties are concerned, Kyle Duggar, Jimmy Ward, Andre Sisco, Kevin Byard, Donovan Wilson, a potential reunion for Geno Stone in that scenario, Xavier Woods, Taylor Rapp. Anybody stick out to you guys when it comes to potential free agent safeties that they could inquire about? Richard says, don't argue your points on Crosby or Likely. What I'm floored by is a lot of y'all here acting like Simpson is a great player because he ain't 77. Red flag. Offensive line. Grab him. I don't know who's saying, I certainly haven't seen anything that would suggest John Simpson is this, tremendous upside, all-pro caliber type of guard. But he's someone that played left guard and left guard well for the Ravens during their AFC Championship run season. Started all the games, was durable, was good in the run, and is an average player that would be an upgrade. It gives them veteran depth, if nothing else. And you're bringing in Dwayne Ledford and his staff to rejuvenate, develop, and try and get that unit back to where it belongs. Andrew Voorhees can be developed. Most importantly, Emory Jones has to be developed. And we'll see what the role of John Simpson becomes in 2026. And you better believe that whether it be through the latter half of free agency and or the draft, they won't be done there. Richard says, my comment is general. I'm honestly shocked by it. There's been a lot of shocking things to happen over the course of this hour and coming up on 15 minutes program. Trey, 90 seconds on the clock. Appreciate everybody for being here tonight. Over 1,200 concurrents and counting. If you could like the video on the way in, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership this offseason. Still no Lorenzo. Oh, sweet Lorenzo. What are we going to do with you? Bitch ass. Trey, 90 seconds on the clock. What's up, brother?
How you feeling, Mike? I mean, oh gosh, I'm just good talking to Mike. How you feeling, Bobby?
Excuse my French, but
yeah.
Excuse my French. 90 seconds on the clock. Great to see you, man.
Hey, man, it's great to see you too, Bobby. Oh man, I just left the gym, so I'm tired. So don't mind me. Appreciate that.
Chalk it up to this shit right here. Chalk it up to this right here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love it. You gotta be awake. No, man, I've been dealing with a lot of toxic Ravens fans, obviously. Like, it's just short-term memory loss what I've been dealing with. So I kind of took a little break from Twitter and then took a little break from everything else because everybody's overreacting to everything. Like not the biggest trade in the Ravens history just happened on Friday. So that's all I've been dealing with. But outside of that, I'm pretty excited going into free agency. Outside of these, just seeing how Declan Doyle wants to see his offense. We got one of the best offensive line coaches ready to develop. Actually, top 2, top 3 best offensive line coaches ready to develop our offensive line. I actually had a good argument everybody loved. Langford, by the way, developed a center that was undrafted from Appalachian State, guys, to the 6th best center in football. And PFF grade, if you want to go PFF. Just got to throw that out there for Lindenbaum Warriors. So, yeah, that's about it.
Thanks, Trey.
Pretty
excited
for that.
And you look at what he did. They had multiple injuries up and down that offensive line for Atlanta this past year, and they were still able to move guys off the ball, right? They ran successfully. Thank you, Trey. They ran a successful operation, as one would do when you have Bijan Robinson in your backfield. But it was an impressive display. Yes, they were not a postseason team, but don't get that confused with what they were able to do successfully under Dwayne Ledford's tutelage and the type of resume that he now brings to Baltimore. Speaking of offensive linemen, former offensive lineman and available offensive lineman, Ryan Dunleavy, New York reporter, hearing that the Giants' guard focus includes Daniel Fa'alele. Elijah Vera Tucker is off the board. Fa'alele, who Ryan says is 6'8", with a with an exclamation point, has familiarity with Harbaugh. And Matt Nagy, who's their offensive coordinator, likes big interior offensive linemen. Presented without comment. That is going on in the New York media space. That Fa'alele could be heading to the Big Apple. 90 seconds on the clock. Appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. We are 36 minutes out from the collective. Cole, Jeff, myself. Looking forward to that coverage coming up tonight. Cedric, you're on the clock, my man. Thanks for the call, dude. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Bobby, man? First time caller, man. I'm the great ones. So I really enjoyed the show. This is my first time calling in. I'm not gonna waste my time. So we brought in Mentor, who is a great developmental coach on the defensive side of the ball. Why do we have to go in piece by piece this offensive line? The swing, Crosby helps. He is a dog. We know he a dog. Future Hall of Famer. He don't help Lamar. Your objective is to protect your generational quarterback and build a wall. You have my guy Emory Hunt on here. Guard, center, guard to protect your quarterback. And he hasn't done it. And now we got to go into the draft with unknown pieces. My man just came off an all-time season in 2025, 4,000 yards, 41-4. You know the stats. And this year he was beat up because of the offensive line. This team goes as Lamar go. And all I'm saying is we will protect them 2 first rounds could have been for something else. It could have been for a wide receiver. He's never had a true one wide receiver one time in his life. All those guys we live, half of them not even in the league no more. Never had a true young, virtuous one wide receiver in his life. I do think we kind of shitting on Mark Andrews a little bit, but we missed on Likely. We did miss on Likely. We cannot say that that's not a miss. But my time's coming down. I know you know how it go. First time caller, appreciate it, man.
You're the man, Cedric. Look at that. You not one breath was wasted. Thank you, man. And shout out Emory Hunt, because that's the guy right there. I appreciate that call. And here's what I'll say, Cedric. They haven't addressed it yet. They haven't addressed the situation yet. They have brought in John Simpson. He was a solid play for them, a reliable play in 23. Why can't he again? Yeah, he's got to count down and clean up some of the penalties, the pre-snap lack of discipline that we saw last year for the Jets. But I expect him to be a plug-and-play starter for them at guard. Okay, now they have Emory Jones in-house, and you've got Andrew Voorhees. Change of scenery with Dwayne Ledford and company. Potentially one of your 2 starters already in-house for right guard, assuming that Simpson would be left. He can also play right, though, as well. Now, what are you going to do at center? It ain't going to be Elton Jenkins. He's going to Cleveland. But guess what? Would you have wanted him to begin with? This is a guy who just failed his physical. He's a cap casualty. He had a very serious injury last year, which included ligament damage. Are we thinking that because he was just a hot name today and over the last 48 hours, that he would have been the smartest play for them at center? There's players out there that can be day one starters as a rookie for their operation offensively speaking. That was what Linderbaum was in 22 right out of the gate. Now, granted, was he a first-round selection and should have been a day one plug-and-play starter? Of course. But you got other guys out there as well. Connor Lew is at the top of most folks and most analysts' lists out of Auburn. Just because they haven't done it yet isn't an indictment against Eric. Was last year an indictment against their team-building process? Yes, it was. From an offensive line perspective. I think we can all agree there. But I'm not going to sit here and become a prisoner of the moment. Not yet. 90 seconds on the clock. Nick, get in here, brother. What's up?
What is up, Bobby? Thanks for having me on. Hey, so the thing about the offensive line, I think last year, I think we were seeing improvement, and we were seeing like things from, the prior year. That's why they didn't address it. They didn't think it was a big addressed need. And the problem is they are trying to like Band-Aid and, go to the dollar section and sometimes maybe the discount section of the store instead of shopping for the good stuff. I mean, we made fun of Cleveland, but Cleveland has just rebuilt their offensive line pretty much almost all the way. Do I believe in Emory Jones? Yes, I believe in Emory Jones. I think him in the weight room for a full solid year will do good. But the thing about it is do I believe Simpson? I don't know. I mean, he's got to keep the flags down, But, Voorhees, do I think coaching makes a big difference? Yes. Coaching is going to make a huge difference, and we'll probably see that because we saw a divot with the coaching that we had this past year with Warhop. It's a combination of both. It was performance by the player, and it was also poor coaching in a lot of ways.
Thank you. I think that's a leveled take. Just because it hasn't been fully addressed on day 2 of free agency at 7:30 doesn't mean it won't be. Does that also excuse DaCosta in the front office from what they rolled out in 25? No, it doesn't. But this is a separate evaluation, and that evaluation cannot be fully made yet. Jeremy Fowler an hour ago says Baltimore was also involved here in the Elton Jenkins discussions. He decides to go to Cleveland. Maybe they weren't comfortable with the medical. I just shared with everybody a minute ago that he failed his physical. He played 9 games last year. You want him to be the plug-and-play starter at center? I know he's a 2-time Pro Bowler, but that was at guard. Yeah. Can we just hold our horses here? Everybody's got a short memory, man. Not everybody. You never want to put everybody in the same bucket. But don't have a short memory, Consider it months back when free agency started for the Ravens. Please consider Friday night. Consider the latter half of free agency. Consider drafting and consider what you just made your point on, Nick. That is the new regime, the new offensive line staff that's coming in, and the development that could potentially be had between now and September when they're rolling out that regular season football.
Bobby, one more thing, Bobby. The Maxx Crosby, the trade, we finally got a closer. We got a guy that's going to game wreck and close on us. Like he's gonna be our closer. He's gonna be our Mo Rivera of the fourth quarter now. As long as he can stay healthy, and it's gonna take a lot of pressure off of other guys. That's the other thing. And let's say Metabike comes back. Hey, guess what? That's a bonus. That's a huge bonus. But we still got to address the trenches.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you, Nick. See you tonight on the Collective, my man. The Discord group continues to be active on day 2 of free agency, including Rave doing God knows what on his TikTok. I should ban his ass. Love you, Rave, but I should ban your TikToks. Take a look at all the chatter in here, literally up to the minute. It's a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. It is free to join. The access link to join is now in my live chat as a pinned comment. I would love for you to join. We don't just talk football. As you can see, there are a bunch of different chat rooms, including Bobby After Dark. In order to join, click on the link that I have included in the show notes. Excuse me, it's also in the show notes, but it's in the pinned comment. And I'm going to throw it in the live chat right now if you want a live link to go and join it. And while I'm talking about supporting platforms, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Preston Automotive Group before I get on out of here tonight, my longest standing sponsor. If you are in the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle, I hope you'll consider scanning the QR code in the upper right-hand corner or clicking on the link that's included in my show notes. It'll take you to PrestonMotor.com, and there's a couple exclusive offers that are available to you as a subscriber of mine. One is a $500 credit towards a new or pre-owned vehicle. Two is buying 4 tires. That'll allow you to receive 50% off your alignment. You can contact them by filling out this form. There's a ton of different dealership locations to work with in and around Baltimore, in and around the DMV, and maybe most fun as far as just toggling through this website is going to the available inventory section, where right now you can find 3,866 vehicles to go check out, learn about, and break down by make, model, keyword based on your preferences, price, vehicle condition, you name it. They got them. Give them a call, 410-673-7171. I appreciate Preston Automotive Group for the continued support of the program, and you can scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner if you'd like to go learn more today. Thanks to FanDuel. Thanks to Preston Automotive Group. If you want to donate to the program, guys, you know the drill. You can do so by just simply liking the video, subscribing, hitting that notification bell so you'll be notified and pinged when I go live. If you want to do so monetarily outside the form of super chatting, you can do so through Venmo or Cash App. And again, everything and anything is always appreciated. Nothing is ever expected. The Collective tonight in under 30 minutes time. I look forward to rejoining Cole and Jeff at 8 o'clock Eastern. Go check it out. That show continues to grow, and we got a lot coming up tonight. Appreciate you guys for being with me. I'll catch up with you in literally 26 minutes from right now inside the Ravens Collective. Go check it out in the YouTube space and in the audio-only spaces as well. Lorenzo, you a liar.